Will Brennan, natural lifestyle expert and founder of Desert Mountain Apothecary. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today my topic is natural skincare and why everyone should make the switch from conventional skincare to natural skincare. And you may say, well, it's conventional, so it must be good, and everyone's using it, so it must be good. And both of those arguments are patently false. Who is conventional skincare good for? That's a good question. The people that conventional skincare is good for are the shareholders of the companies that make them. These products are made for the benefit of the company and the shareholders of the company that take the profits. So you, as the consumer of these, you're barely thought of. The only time the consumer is really thought of is, how am I going to market to this person? How am I going to sell to this person? But what's inside those bottles at the department store, at the specialty store, there's actually very little difference label to label or designer house to designer house. They're mostly coming out of the same factories, just with different labels on them. They're mostly made with the same active ingredients, and just because you spend a lot of money doesn't mean you're getting a quality product. And a great example of this is a moisturizing cream that's been really famous since the late 90s, and it's very much associated with wealth and associated with luxury, and it costs $250 to $500 for a jar. And I'm not going to say what it is, but we all know it, and the active ingredient is sea minerals. Well, having worked in the cosmetic industry and having a amazing mentor starting out who was an expert in cosmetic formulation, I can say with full assurance that the $250 jar of sea mineral moisturizing cream is identical to the sea mineral moisturizing cream for $15 or $20 at the drugstore. So if that isn't a waste of money, I don't know what is. And frankly, I think there are so many better things that you could be using than a cream that's made in a chemical factory. I mean, would you really, if you saw big vats of chemicals, would you put them on your body? If you saw petroleum, would you put it on your body? But when it's marketed to you and presented to you in pretty packaging, and the packaging costs more than what's inside of it, apparently a lot of people will, because they don't know any better. But when you know better, you can do better. And embracing natural skincare is a way that every person, man, woman, child, can enhance their life. Because when you stop irritating your skin with toxic cosmetics and you just let your skin be calm, fully hydrated, it's amazing how the texture and the quality of appearance will improve. We're all powerful. Our bodies are filled with the capability of healing, miraculous healing. And so what we do as a mistake is we strip our skin with toxic chemicals. We put things like denatured alcohol, sodium lauryl sulfate, toxic carcinogenic fragrances. We put them right on our skin. And let me tell you something about the skin of a mammal. Any mammal, human beings included. It is semi-permeable. There's no way if you put a chemical on your skin that you can keep it from being absorbed. Our biological development happened over a very long period of time. We've had these artificial chemicals for a very short period of time, so we haven't evolved in the same environment that we are now. So when we're putting these chemicals on our body, they're going right in. One of the most pernicious things that's in conventional skincare are things called endocrine disruptors. Now, the main conduit for endocrine disruptors to come into our body is from the preservative stabilization systems. This classification of chemicals is known as parabens. The most common one in cosmetics is methylparaben. You really owe it to yourself to look closely at all your cosmetics and make sure you're not using anything with methylparaben. This is an example of a toxic, carcinogenic compound made in a chemical factory that when it enters your body through your skin, Your body can never metabolize it, and it can never go out. So even though you only put on a little bit every day, it's cumulative. It never comes out of your system. There is no known way to get all those parabens out of your system, and they disrupt your endocrine system. Your endocrine system controls your hormones. Your hormones control everything in your body. And when those start going wacky, your body starts going wacky. When those parabens start to disrupt your hormones, they can set off a chain reaction that manifests in cancer. Why on earth would you want to have cancer when you didn't have to? If someone presented it to you like that, would you still want to cover yourself in chemicals? I hope not. And whatever advice that I have on my notes or anything, the biggest advice I can give anyone, it's applicable to natural skincare, it's applicable to every single facet of the human experience. Raise your standards. You are worth it. No one will ever tell you you're worth it until you decide that you are, and you raise those standards. You deserve better than irritated skin that never looks as good as you want it to. You deserve better than fried, lifeless hair that you can never style without heat and lots of toxic products. You deserve better than having adult acne and wrinkles at the same time. I was furious when I found that I had both acne and wrinkles at the same time, because I said to myself, I could really deal with one of the two. I had acne from about 13 to let's say about 25. But then in my 20s, when I started getting premature aging, it made me so angry. It made me so angry that I should be having the signs of aging while still having this adolescent complexion. And at the time, I was working in fashion, and it was a really big deal not to look correct, not to look in control, not to look your best. And it really held me back. And when I finally got my body into balance, when I finally switched to natural skincare, it was the acne just disappeared overnight, and this beautiful skin, it was almost as if my skin regrew, and the skin I always wanted was looking at me in the mirror, and I had it every day. It wasn't something that just came and went. It was something I could continue. So I want to explain something really, really important, and this is something that many people don't know about, and that is something called the moisture barrier. Since our skin is exposed to the elements, we evolved out of doors. We evolved before McMansions and condo towers. Our skin has to be able to deal with the elements. It has to be able to deal with the sun, the rain, the cold, the heat, the wind. So we have something called a moisture barrier. Now, the first thing that strips the moisture barrier that's in so many of our cosmetics is a classification of chemicals called sulfates. The most common sulfate is sodium lauryl sulfate. It's the active ingredient of conventional dish soap. But what you don't know is that it's also the active ingredient in conventional body wash, facial cleansers, and shampoo. So if you're completely covering yourself in sodium lauryl sulfate head to toe, you are stripping everything, every bit of your moisture barrier off. And what happens? Your skin goes into overdrive because it is so shocked. Your moisture barrier has a communication system of pH. So when your skin is too basic, it starts either an over or an underproduction of oil. So when I would strip my skin, what would happen is my cleanser was a sodium lauryl sulfate based cleanser. Very basic on the pH scale. So what happened was I completely stripped my skin, then I put an irritating toner on. Then my pores went into overdrive trying to rebalance the moisture barrier. And so what it would do is it would go into overdrive, making skin oil, making sebum. But I couldn't keep up with how fast it was producing it, and it would get trapped in the pores, and I would get cystic acne, whiteheads, blackheads, really, really deep, painful cystic acne. And I still have the scars to this day, but they're nothing compared to the way they used to be. And so finally, when my skin was just so bad and I was so burnt out of the harsh, irritating, toxic cosmetics that I was getting from my dermatologist, I finally was referred to a natural skincare expert who was an esthetician in my hometown. And she said to me, when you come for your consultation, I need you to bring every product that you use in your medicine cabinet, everything. And I did. And she just went and looked at every ingredient list and just said, no, 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 no. It answered all my questions, and from that day forward, my skin just got better and better and better. So I threw away the foaming body wash, the foaming shampoo, and the foaming facial cleanser, and I started to use cream cleanser, a natural cream cleanser on my face. My skin responded immediately. The difference was immediate. Instead of using a foaming sulfate-based shampoo, I was using a cream conditioner. I was conditioner washing. My hair was so dry and unmanageable and like hay. And overnight, I had these beautiful curly locks that were defined, glossy, and smooth. Never ever had that before. And then the next ingredient that she went looking through all my cosmetics for was denatured alcohol. Specially denatured alcohol. SD alcohol is how it often is shown on ingredients lists. Now, alcohol is illegal to sell in its drinkable form unless you have a license to sell it, like, for example, a liquor company, a bar, a restaurant. You have to get a liquor license to sell liquor. So the reason that denatured alcohol is in everything is because you can't drink it. It's poisonous if you drink it. That's what denaturing means. The way it's produced is the alcohol is denatured with the cheapest available product, and it's toxic. It's supposed to be toxic. So it's doing what it says on the bottle. It's a toxic version of alcohol that you can't drink. Well, why? Maybe you'd want to detail your car with it, but why would you want to put that on your skin? Really ask yourself that. Do you know we've all had maybe a little bit of a martini or a vodka soda spilled on our skin, and when our skin feels really bad afterwards, we've got to wash it off and moisturize because our skin just doesn't feel right when that little bit of alcohol went on us. So the esthetician, went through everything in my little kit, and she said, this has SD alcohol, this has SD alcohol, this has SD alcohol, this hair product has SD alcohol, this, and she said, replace it with rose water. Replace it with an alcohol-free flower water. Now, rose water is as close to cosmetic panacea as we're ever going to get. It completely, perfectly balances the pH Rose water perfectly balances the pH levels on your skin after cleansing. And also, it increases cellular turnover. It's antibacterial to kill any little acne, any blackheads. If you're a man and you shave your face, it's the perfect aftershave tonic. There's no better aftershave tonic in the world than rose water, in my opinion and in my experience. Next thing I really want to bring into focus is something called manual exfoliation. I think we're all really familiar, especially from teenage years, with a gritty scrub. There's one at the drugstore that's made of apricot pits. This is one of the worst things that you can do to your skin. And a lot of people will say, I've been using a gritty scrub every day for 30 years and doesn't my skin look great? And I'll say to them, your skin is used to it. But does that mean that that's the best thing for you just because it's what your skin is used to? And yes, you might be getting a little bit of a boost from all of that manual exfoliation because what it does is it causes the sebaceous glands to go into overdrive. But the problem is that it's actually ruining the texture of your skin. It's way too harsh for your face. I don't suggest using manual exfoliation anywhere on your body, but especially on your face. And another thing with manual exfoliation is that if you overdo it, it can cause full body shock because thinning of the skin layer can cause your entire body to go into shock because you're actually sending a signal into your body that something is deeply wrong. Your skin layer is thinning and it knows that that is not a good sign. So what your body can do is it can go into overdrive, creating stress hormones, creating allergic reactions. I did this once and I had boils, rashes, and actually had a fever come on because of it. And I had these rashes for weeks leading into months from over exfoliating. So if you feel like you need to exfoliate, this is what you should do. Go for chemical exfoliation. And I've been saying don't use toxic chemicals, don't use XYZ, but chemical exfoliation does not have to come from a chemical factory. There are many chemical exfoliants, but the three main ones that I would suggest, and I'm not suggesting you do this, but if you are going to use a chemical exfoliant, I would just limit it to one of these three. Lactic acid, best one to start. Glycolic acid, number 2, salicylic acid. This is something for people suffering from acne in particular, but it also is a very powerful anti-aging serum. The downside to each and every one of these chemical exfoliants is sun sensitivity. If you live in Oslo or Minnesota, there's really no downside to using these chemical exfoliants in the winter because there's very little sun. So you really don't have to worry too much about it. Here in Southern California, I never use them because I'm in the sun year round. Why did I move to Southern California? For the outdoor year-round lifestyle. So to have a few less wrinkles, to get a little hyperpigmentation off, to get a few acne scars off, it's not worth the risk of what? What is the risk? Skin cancer. Does that make any sense to you? That you would make yourself a little bit better looking? And yeah, these chemical exfoliants do work. They're tried and true. They're not new. But to get skin cancer as the end result, does that make sense to you? I don't think so. So wrapping up my discussion today, I just want to remind everyone to raise their standards, specifically with what they're putting on their body. You deserve to look as good as you want to look. If you are spending so much money, I've seen this so many times, people are using a skincare regimen that costs thousands of dollars twice a day. They're going to the dermatologist, they're going to the plastic surgeon. They're not happy with the way they look. Their skin is not in good condition. And they've spent so much money, and so they think they need to spend even more. Break the cycle and raise your standards. I promise you, you'll never go back. You'll finally have the skin you want. You'll finally have nails strong and beautiful that don't need polish on them. You're gonna have hair that doesn't even need to be styled every day because it's so healthy and glossy. You deserve it. So for everyone watching, I want to say thank you so much for joining me. It means the world to me. Once again, I'm Will Brennan, natural lifestyle expert and founder of Desert Mountain Apothecary. So signing off, I just want to leave you with one thought. It's better to be looked over than overlooked.